Hi guys, I wanted to cover a few things about recurring billing model in Business Catalyst and probably more about the features and functionality that people don't know. I think the recurring billing module in Business Catalyst, it's got its quirks, definitely, but there's things people don't know about how to manage that kind of structure and from a business point of view. And it's really handy to know because once you know, it's quite a powerful tool. So let me cover a few things like changing the order manually, how to run a one-off order, one-off like discount or pricing change, or completely changing the price of every order in the system moving forward. Or running up an order manually, updating credit cards, cancelling, refunding, tax in Business Catalyst when you take a payment through a secure zone, and perhaps some things that you can do with API. Let's find a new order that's recurring in this site. Jessica purchased Cheese Addict recurring membership. It's a monthly recurring order. As you can see, these are manual payment orders that she's done historically, and then she's just done her first monthly order for the Cheese Addict. You can tell because it's got the cycling feature on there. So let's have a look at that order and let's see what we can do with it. So with Business Catalyst, this recurring order duplicates 14 days before it's due next. So on 14 days before the 17th of December, so let's say the 3rd of December, this order will replicate to create another order. And then a month later, this one here will replicate again. So you'll always have this one recurring, and then you'll just have the new ones come in on top of it. So that means if you want to completely change this order, you can edit the order and you can actually change what product is recurring. So I can change it to the corporate pack. You have to do some manual stuff, so you have to put in here corporate, whatever, and you have to actually put the price yourself. Make sure it updates, and then what we would instruct the client is it's always best to change it up here just so you know that they're now on the corporate plan in the order list. It's as simple as that. You change the order, you save it. Now this is the recurring order that I've edited. So every month they will now be on the corporate. But let's say the customer is on the Cheese Addict plan, and then for December, their big month, they want the corporate plan, but then, they want to drop back down to the Cheese Addict plan. Well, what we would instruct the client to do in that regard is to wait till the 3rd of December, which will be 14 days before the invoice triggers, and then once that order replicates itself, I wouldn't change the recurring order because that would change it for all future orders. I'd edit the one that appeared within the 14 days of them getting billed, and then I would edit that order, same as what we did before. That would give them a one-off corporate, and then they'd still be on the Cheese Addict plan. Does that make sense? Pretty straightforward once you know that you can edit these orders. So just one thing to note, when someone makes a payment via a web form or via an event module or purchasing something via a secure zone, you can find that product under e-commerce products. So for him, there's Cheese Addict. That was automatically created because someone made the purchase online. So just a little tip there, because this is a new recurring setup for us, and so far someone's purchased the Cheese Addict, they've also purchased the corporate, but they haven't purchased the family one. So if I was to go into that order and try to change it to the family pack and it's not in there, Well, it's because no one's bought it yet and the product hasn't automatically been created, so I can't choose it from here. But what I can do is I can just go into e-commerce, create a product called whatever I want, discount for Brett on custom package, the Barocca pack, and then I can bounce back into the order, edit it, and add the Barocca pack and give it whatever price that I want, save it, and now that's on recurring. So it's quite flexible in that regard. It's the same when someone, generally if someone calls up and they have a credit card, this is talking about adding a new order to the system when the client doesn't have a email address, or they don't want to do it online, they want to phone it in. Well, that's fine. We can go to the customer, we can create a new customer. I won't go through that process, but then we can go into their orders and we can actually create, they don't have any recurring orders here, but we can create one, order name test. We can subscribe them to the corporate plan, give it a price. Now, you don't get the extra features at the bottom to make it recurring until you save the order. But once you've saved the order, I'll pick one that isn't recurring. This is the same practice as if someone made a purchase and they said, oh look, I'd like to buy that monthly. You can find the order that they made, come down here, or create one manually, edit, and make it monthly, set their next recurrence date, and then put their credit card details in, and then set the cycle type to whatever you want, bang. It'll now start recurrence on that product. We've covered how to manually change a recurring order and how to create a new recurring order. Something that we get asked a lot is change a credit card. You can put a form on the website in BC, but it asks the customer to put the order number of the order that they want to update the credit card number of. So that means that the customer would have to put the order number of the recurring order into the system in order for that recurring order to be updated. So just to cycle back around to that, I'll explain that a little bit further. Get this list. Let's assume that this user has been on the Cheese Addict plan for 12 months. They'd have 12 orders in here. Let's say that they wanted to update their credit card number. Well, they'd have to punch in 8014 as the order number so that the recurring order updates. And then let's say that is within 14 days of their next payment. Well, that recurring order has been copied, so now there's 2 orders in the system that need to be updated. The one that's due in 14 days plus the recurring one. We looked into this, we've looked extensively into the eWay API and how BC does their token payments to eWay, and it's kind of uncovered a whole bunch of things about how the way BC does its payment, which for us uncovered the mechanics behind how recurring invoicing worked, which uncovered how you manage it. So that's why I'm sharing some of those discoveries with you today. So you can put a web form on a page and say update credit card details, but you need to specify the order number, and potentially you'd need to update 2 orders. So what we sometimes will do is we put a request in that the customer wants to update the credit card number, and then the website owner will contact the customer and manually do it. To manually do it, you just go down here to edit the order, find the recurring, update the credit card details, and then process now. Process now won't run a payment. Process now will just submit it so that it's ready to process next time. Remembering as well, if it's within 14 days of the next payment, that you should update the other order as well. Which brings me to cancelling a recurring payment. You can cancel a payment by editing the order and disabling it. You also want to disable if the invoice has already sprung up and you're disabling the recurring invoice, plus it's within 14 days and the order's already been created for that order, then you have to cancel that as well. A little trick that we do with eWay, and I'm not sure if it'll apply here with this, but let's say that Jessica's credit card said, the 10th October 2017, and I could see that her payment failed because the credit card number was incorrect. When a new credit card is reissued, generally it's reissued 4 years in advance. So I'm not sure what would happen if I just updated Jessica's email credit card number, didn't put the CCV and processed that. I have a sneaking suspicion that might actually work and would keep her on recurring even though her credit card, her previous credit card has expired. I'd have to have a look into that, and something you guys could try if you liked. Refunding is generally done inside of the payment gateway's portal, but quite often what we would suggest the client do is make an offline payment and just put a negative amount, negative 59 was refunded on that date, refund, and then record the offline payment. That's good for account keeping and just to know that that order was refunded and things like that. Tax. So when you take payment for a web form or a secure zone on the front end, it's not integrated with Business Catalyst. It's tax tags. So you end up getting zero tax on the invoice. What we would generally do in this regard, and the guys under this instance is, I'm not sure, that looks like they've taken out the tax column, but usually you'd have a tax column in here that says tax, and in here you'd have tag underscore tax, whatever it is, tax product tax amount. You'd have tags out here about tax amount. We just take the tags out and just put 10% GST or something like that, 10% tax or 10% GST or whatever your country code is, and then same down here, it's 10%. That way when the invoice comes through, it's got, the total amount was, let's say $1,000, and then total tax amount equals, it doesn't calculate it like the tax tag would, and calculate what 10% of that is and put the figure in there. But if you just put 10% in there, that's usually enough for the business owner. They're like, yeah, that's fine. I've never had anyone come back and say that that's not good enough. So that's how we would generally get around the tax. Stephen asked about how to run 12 or 3 equal payments of $50, say, for a product. So what we do in that regard, and we can do it in the shopping module, as well as taking recurring payment via a web form. If you've got a product there that needs to be paid for over 5 installments, when the order's placed, we pass the order via the API through to our external system that notes the order number and knows how many payments are due on it before the order's terminated. So we simply pass the order number outside of BC. We have a scheduled task that runs, and when this $59 payment runs 10 times, we look back into BC, we have the order number, we know how many weeks or how many months it would take to gather up the funds required. If need be, we can run some extra checks on each of the orders that has happened since the recurring and make sure that they were all successful before we terminate the order. But the easiest way is just to calculate up 10 months after the order was made, bounce back in via the API, change the recurring status to disabled, and then the customer's no longer billed. So we've done that before. That's a good solution. So I hope that helps uncover something that you didn't know about recurring billing. It certainly does have its quirks. One feature that Business Catalyst brought out recently was via API you can move people between email lists. So that opens the door now that if someone subscribes to the monthly membership for a trial, and then 3 months later when the trial finishes they upgrade to a paid membership, that it will pull the emails that customer out of the trial email list and put them into a membership email list. And same, once their membership expires, it opens the door now to pull them out of the membership list and put them into an expired membership list, which is a great feature when teamed up with recurring billing. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer.